You are listening to WMHW HD1 and HD2 Mount Pleasant Mountain 91.5, a service of Central Michigan University's School of Broadcast and Cinematic Arts. Hello, folks, and welcome in to Count That Baby and a Foul, a Detroit Pistons show on 91.5 The Mountain, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Anthony Schulte, joined by Ryan Donnelly, and we will both be with you all season with everything Detroit Pistons.
What Monty Williams offers to this team is a .5 offense, and something that we've watched over the last couple of years with Dwayne Casey at the helm of the coaching staff is a lot of the time Pistons players will hold the ball too long. They won't make a split-second decision, and ultimately that could cost them a possession. What Monty Williams brings, the .5 offense, if you weren't listening on Wednesday to Card Guys and you don't know Monty Williams' coaching style, .5 offense is where if you hold the ball, if you have the ball in your hands and you don't make a decision whether to pass, shoot, or drive within .5 seconds, you're basically taken out of the game for a little bit. That's your punishment. It basically incentivizes players to keep the ball moving, make decisions, and read the defense quicker and better, and it leads to a more fluid and fast-paced offense, and it's obviously worked in Phoenix.
Yes, it's worked in Phoenix a lot. You know, Devin Booker is a great scorer, and he doesn't really need the balls in his hands. That's why this .5 offense worked for the Suns. You got so many guys on that squad that doesn't really need the ball. Just find the open man. Greg Popovich, I believe, does this same offense, and it's worked. He's won 5 chips with the Spurs, been into a lot of finals. .5 offense works in this league. Now, you have Cade Cunningham. Solid playmaker, best leader. If I said this on Wednesday's Card Guy show, I think he's the best leader. He's going to be the best leader in the next 2 to 3 years in the NBA. You got guys who I believe will understand this .5 offense quick. Cade Cunningham, great passer. He doesn't need the ball in his hands. If he has a better player in this league on this team, he's going to not be that number one option. So he doesn't really need that ball in his hands. He's going to be a dynamic scorer no matter what, even if he has the ball in his hands for half a second. That's what makes him special. Ivy, not even a number one option on a championship team. Not even a number one option on a crappy team. He doesn't need the ball in his hands for 1 second. I feel like he's going to develop well. You know, Asor Thompson, a new guy, he's going to learn from, you know, the Cupcake League. He came from Overtime Elite to the NBA. He's going to do really well. He is a ball-dominant player. He understands basketball, and I feel like Asor Thompson is going to blossom well under this .5 offense. Obviously, I'm not going to go through every single player on the Pistons depth chart, but you got guys like Bojan Bogdanovic, who's a vet who understands basketball well. He's played on multiple teams, some good, some bad. He's going to go through this offense well. Duren, yes, I don't need to explain. Monte Morris and Joe Harris, the 2 big signings who we'll go through later in this show, they're going to develop pretty well. Killian Hayes, I don't know. Alec Burks, Stewart, Wiseman, Bagley, Livers, Jared Rhoden, Sasser, they're going to develop well under this .5 offense, and I have hope for this .5 offense for the Pistons.
One thing about Monty Williams that a lot of people around the league respect is he is a coach. He is a player's coach. Mm-hmm. He is, whenever somebody talks about, who's the biggest player's coach in the league, Monty Williams' name always comes up. He's there for his players. The culture he has around his team, the culture he built up in Phoenix, if we could get that type of culture in Detroit, that's going to be very, very, very valuable if we're going to win a championship in the future. But with Monty Williams, we see an upgrade from Dwayne Casey. Dwayne Casey won Coach of the Year before he came to the Pistons. He got fired after he won Coach of the Year by the Raptors. The Pistons sign him. And he comes in, he leads that 2018-19 team, Pistons team, Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson, Bruce Brown, leads them to the playoffs. We get swept by the Bucks, but that was Blake Griffin's best year of his career. Mm-hmm. And then through COVID, through all of the shutdown, through the startup of the NBA again, and basically when Troy Weaver takes over and says, hey, hard reset. We are rebuilding this team. We are restoring this team. he's a good developmental coach, Dwayne Casey, but him going through his lineups and what he threw out there, it didn't really help the growth of someone like a Killian Hayes. And you didn't really see the wins start to add up with Dwayne Casey. So the front office is looking at this like, okay, Dwayne Casey is a good developmental guy. He knows how to develop players outside of the actual game during practice, training camps, off-season workouts, all that. He's a really good developmental coach in a practice setting. When it comes to his lineups, what he throws on the court, that's where it gets a little iffy, and that's where the developmental stage in-game comes into question. So the front office is looking at this like, okay, we have a good developmental guy off the court. Let's put him in the front office with us. So they say, Dwayne, retire from coaching, come with us to the front office. That's what he does. It takes the Pistons a while. A lot of Pistons fans and critics were a little skeptical about how long it took to make a decision on a coach. But ultimately, they're like, Monty Williams is that guy to bring in not only for our culture, not only to make our players happy, but to build a winner and to have a winning scheme. So now you have the development of Dwayne Casey still in the organization, but now you have the coach that you want in Monty Williams. And it took that long because the Pistons were patient. They knew who they wanted. They wanted Monty. They didn't want Ime Udoka. They didn't want any of the other options available at the time. They didn't want
Doc Rivers, Mike Budenholzer.
Why can't I think of his name?
Who did he coach for last?
He was the UConn coach.
I can't think of his name.
Kevin Ollie. There it is. Kevin Ollie. Kevin Ollie was at the top of the Pistons board for a while, but they knew they wanted Monty. And when Monty had to really think about what he wanted with his future, with his off the court happenings, the Pistons took their time with them. And they were like, you know what? Take all the time you need. Come to us with an answer when you're ready. We will be here waiting for you. That's why it took so long for the Pistons to come to a decision, and not only come to a decision, but to be able to come to terms with Monty Williams. And he comes back to me, he's like, you know what? You guys have been there for me. You guys have supported me. You guys have respected the fact that I wanted to think about it, and you're still here and you still want me? Sure. And Tom Gores is a very generous man. That's what we'll say. And we got Monty Williams here in Detroit. He loves the city already. He loves the players already. And it was just a spectacular hire for the Pistons right before the NBA draft. Our next segment here.
Before you move on, I just want to mention how in Monty Williams' press conference, every player from the Pistons was there.
Except for Bojan
Bogdanovic, because I don't think he wants to play for the Pistons anymore.
No, he wants to play for the Pistons. I think he was just dealing with things. He was overseas, I'm pretty sure, at home.
Yeah, never mind. But besides Bojan, I'm sorry if I made up that lie. I don't know about the future of Bojan Bogdanovic. But every player was there because they got the guy that they want, and they got the guy that they knew that they would make him better. Dwayne Casey with trying to develop Jaden Ivey was tough because Jaden Ivey is fit to be the second option or the third option. So it's kind of understandable why they moved him to the front office. Yeah. But I love the Monty hire. I thought it was too much money because at the time I thought it represent cap space, but I didn't know it came out of the owner's pocket. So love Monty.
Monty's a great coach, and I'm excited to see what he can do here. NBA draft time. The NBA draft, the next phase in the offseason. Troy Weaver went in with the 5th pick. We had the best odds for the first pick, but we got the 5th pick. And Ausar Thompson is sitting there at 5. Troy Weaver selects him, Ausar Thompson, from Overtime Elite. And then he makes a trade with the Celtics. Future second gets us Marcus Sasser. It was the Grizzlies pick, and then they traded to Boston, and Boston traded it to us. It was a very confusing process. A lot of people were confused with where Sasser was going at 25. But Sasser's picked. Sasser's a Piston. And this draft has a lot of potential for the Detroit Pistons.
I do agree. Here's the thing. Monty Williams believes in Killian Hayes. I know I'm going off topic, but this connects to the draft, by the way. So if I was Troy Weaver and I didn't believe in Killian, I'd trade up to 15, pick Cam Whitmore, and then have 2 forwards, and then have Asora in the starting lineup and Cam in the bench. But picking Sasser means Killian might be gone or Killian might have a smaller role for the Pistons.
The Pistons did explore a Killian Hayes trade with the Mavericks.
Yes.
But talks stalled when the Mavericks simply didn't want what Troy Weaver was asking for, and understandably so. But there were trade talks. Killian was on the trade market, but nobody was biting at the Killian Hayes sweepstakes.
No. But now that Sasser was picked, I feel like, okay, this might be the end for the Killian era. And it showed in Summer League. He was unbelievable. Those 2 draft picks, I fell in love. I was very skeptical on the Asar Thompson pick because he came from Overtime Elite. His background is always like basketball. But sometimes basketball doesn't really work, and it sometimes affects your mental health. Like the Ball brothers, Morris twins, like if you have a brother that's in this league, it could either help out a ton or it could help out not that much. And that's why I was very skeptical on the Asar twins, on the Thompson twins, not the Asar twins. But seeing what I saw from Asar Thompson was awesome and unbelievable. This guy, I always knew he was a great defender, and it showed in Summer League. We struggled a lot with defense, especially with our forwards, so seeing Asar Thompson filling in that role of being a defensive forward was really impressive.
He showed a lot of athleticism, too,
He did.
in his offensive and defensive game.
But also, that guy's got range. He was pulling up from midcourt a couple times for the 3 and like drained those. He's got a good offensive game. He can catch lobs. Sasser was throwing him a lot of lobs in Summer League. This guy is the real deal, but I feel like he won't be starting the season. I think they're going to experiment him coming off the bench. If he goes off on the bench, then I feel like they'll start him before the All-Star break, maybe around Christmas time. But Asar, I feel like, will just come off the bench for the first couple months of the year. But also, I'm sold on Sasser. I've told this to my parents. I've told this to everyone that I've talked to. I'm sold on Marcus Sasser. He is a slashing scorer. He can shoot. He can pass. He's a good perimeter defender. I love the Sasser pick. I was so high on him when he was with the University of Houston. My 5 guys that I really wanted in the draft were Anthony Black, Cam Whitmore, Marcus Sasser, Asar Thompson, or Scoot Henderson. Those are my 5 guys, and we got 2 of those. I was so happy.
One thing about Asar, going back to Asar, is one of his weaknesses. You said he was making a lot of threes. One of his weaknesses, I'd say, in his game right now is the 3-ball shot. I think that's one thing that's left critics and fans skeptical is, okay, this guy is an insane athlete, but can he put together his jump shot? Because the one thing you need in this league, in the modern-day NBA, is a jump shot. It's very rare you see someone stay in the league for a long time as a valuable player without a jump shot. Asar, he showed a lot of potential with his 3-ball. He made a couple threes, but he also struggled from the field a lot. Yeah. Not just from 3, but from mid-range too. But he struggled a lot from the field in Summer League, especially his first couple games. Maybe that was just jitters, but in Overtime Elite, he wasn't necessarily known as the best shooter either. He was an athletic freak and played very good defense. That was kind of his calling card, was his athleticism and his defense. If he could put together this 3-point shot with the help of our coaching staff, the revamped coaching staff, Asar puts together a 3-point shot and a consistent mid-range shot, and you're talking about one of the best wings in the NBA with the defense, the athleticism, and the shooting all combined. That's all you want from your small forward. He would fit that mold well. You said you might not see him start. I think it depends on training camp and preseason, in my opinion. Training camp and preseason would be very important for the Asar versus Boyan debate, or Stu, because Stu would enter the lineup instead of Asar if that were to happen. The lineups would either be Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Jalen Duren, or Cunningham, Ivey, Bogdanovic, Isaiah Stewart, Duren. So it would be interchanging Stewart and who would assign to that big extension, about $13, $14 million a year. When you look at that in a couple years, it's going to be a good deal for a player like Stewart. You have Stewart, and then you have Thompson. They're going to be interchangeable, I think, especially for Monty Williams. It's going to depend on how both play and how both perform, both on the court, off the court, during training camp and preseason. I think those would be very important times. Yeah. And especially Marcus Sasser, I think he starts in the G League.
Yes.
I think they're going to give Killian Hayes, hey, you know what? You're going to be, the veteran now? Killian Hayes will be in his 4th year?
4th year.
Killian Hayes, you're the veteran. We'll give you one last shot on the big boy squad, but just know you have this young gun, Marcus Sasser, waiting. We've never put a first-round pick into the Motor City Cruise G League team. Never. In the Troy Weaver era, we have never put a first-round pick into the G League. I think that changes this year. I think Sasser goes to the G League. He develops well. He puts together more of a professional repertoire. And when Killian Hayes, if Killian Hayes plays like the Killian Hayes we all know and somewhat love, Sasser will come up from the G League and he will replace Killian Hayes. Yeah. And whether we send Killian down to the G League or we trade Killian away at the deadline, I think the backup point guard spot is Marcus Sasser's job to lose. I think he has everything in front of him to be able to take over that backup point guard spot because Monte Morris is a rental. Mm-hmm. Alec Burks is a rental. They're not going to be long-term pieces. Marcus Sasser could be that Monte Morris type player.
Right. I love Monte Morris. He's not going to get a lot of playing time, and I feel like I do agree. Now that I think about Monte Morris, I feel like they might send Sasser to the G League. If he goes to the G League, he's going to be dominating. He's going to be like Saban Lee when he was in the G League.
Oh, Saban Lee. I miss Saban Lee.
I miss Saban Lee. Where is he now? Phoenix?
Phoenix. He's in Phoenix.
I thought he was on the Jazz. Anyways. Yeah, now that I think about it, Sasser might get that G League spot. I didn't realize that no first-round pick in the Detroit Weaver. Now that I think about it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But
the player's been that good that he's drafted.
They're all amazing. I love it. Except for maybe Killian, but Killian does have – this is his last chance. This is the year. If he doesn't do good by the trade deadline, he's gone. They're going to try and find a package – that's the word I'm looking for – a package for Killian. We might get couple second-rounders out of it. We might get a good developmental piece out of that. But Killian's gone, and I'm going to rejoice. Like, I don't know. I just never liked Killian, and I feel like – I know. I mean, I like his defense is good. He's a good passer. He can't use his left hand.
I gave him when the 2020 draft was around and we were going through that draft, I wanted Denny Avdia. That was the player I was like, Troy, get Denny Avdia. We didn't get Denny Avdia, but we got Killian. And you know what? I was watching that and I was like, okay, Killian Hayes, he was number 1 on Kevin O'Connell's big board. He thought Killian was going number 1. He thought he was the best prospect in the entire draft. Clearly, he was wrong there. And I was like, all right, you know what? He has some upside, a taller guard. He can make well. He has to work on his jumper, but he can still make the shot, at least from what I saw from his France tape. And obviously, he's not a early top 10 pick type talent that you want, especially when the same type of player, Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton is Killian Hayes if Killian Hayes developed and developed a positive way.
There was 2 players I really wanted, both point guards. That was Cole Anthony and Tyrese Halliburton. More on Tyrese Halliburton. Like, I'm more on the side of Tyrese Halliburton because Cole Anthony had that injury earlier that year. But I was way more sold on Tyrese Halliburton because of how he played at Iowa State. He's a playmaker. He can shoot. A decent defense. That's what I really wanted in a point guard. If we had that Halliburton player, we'd be pretty good. Probably be our shooting guard.
So if we have Halliburton in that 2020 draft, right, and Halliburton develops the way he's developed, do we select Cade Cunningham first overall in 2021, or do we go with an Evan Mobley or Scotty Barnes?
I think we would still draft Cade. Move Halliburton to the shooting guard, see how he does.
Cade and Halliburton play too similarly, though. You put two of the same type of player like Cade and Halliburton on the court together. It could work great, but it could also not work out so great. So I think if we already have that bigger point guard, you go with Evan Mobley in that situation. I mean, you're not going Jalen. I mean, you could go Jalen Green. Jalen Green could have been the pick.
Yeah,
because Jalen Green is a shooting guard, but I think they go big in that situation and get Evan Mobley. And then another ripple effect. Do we select Jalen Duren in the next draft? Because we already have our Evan Mobley player.
No.
It's a crazy thing when you look at how much the first overall pick in Troy Weaver's reign, the Killian Hayes pick, could be such a domino effect going down the line. Like you pick Say you don't pick Killian. Say you pick Tyrese. Okay, do you select Cade in the next draft? No, you pick Evan Mobley. Okay, now do you select Duren in the next draft? It is a ripple effect. We don't have the same team now if we pick Killian. So honestly, not mad at the Killian pick because I love our team so much. I love our young core so much. But it's kind of disappointing seeing what Killian has turned into. I want to move on to the next part of the offseason for us and free agency. Free agency, some may say, was a disappointment.
It was very slow but solid, I'd say.
I think free agency went the best way it could. Now, hear me out. We traded for Joe Harris. Beef Jerky Joe, if you will. That's his nickname. It's on Basketball Reference. Beef Jerky Joe. That's what we are referring to him as on this show. Joe Harris, Beef Jerky Joe. Okay. We trade for Joe Harris. Basically, we eat the contract 1 year, and then it opens up more cap space for us for next offseason. And then we traded for Monte Morris.
Yes.
I really like that trade. Monte Morris, a Flint native, born and raised in Michigan, another Michigan player coming back home. You saw that with the Red Wings a little bit, a couple of Red Wings players from Detroit. But you see Joe Harris and Monte Morris come here immediately when the Joe Harris trade was announced. Every single Pistons fan on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere really, are kind of like, whoa, what are we doing?
Too big of a
We're
contract.
trading for an old shoot-only player that has a huge contract. What are we doing, Troy? What are you doing right now? You're losing our trust. But I see what Troy Weaver is doing. He's taking on the contract to gain a couple assets. We gained a couple picks in the trade. We actually gained Monte Morris in that trade, technically speaking. We traded one of the seconds from that trade for Monte. Joe Harris, we bring him in. The contract expires at the end of the year.
Yeah.
We weren't spending that money this year. As much as people may have thought, we're going to get Cam Johnson, we're going to trade for a big player. No, we weren't. And this is why. Troy Weaver looked at our past mistakes. And I compare, and Ryan, you've heard this comparison before, I compare the Cam Johnson to Josh Smith.
Yeah.
I compared to that because we gave Josh Smith a huge contract, a player that could not shoot the ball well, a power forward center that we had to play at small forward because we already had Greg Moose Monroe and Andre Drummond. So we had to play 3 power forward centers at once on a lineup because you can't bench a player you're paying that much money in Josh Smith. Okay. Look at Cam Johnson here. Cam Johnson averaged about 12 points per game for his career. Okay, solid, not $30 million worth, which is what we would have had to pay him to pry him away from the Nets.
That's like Alan Crabb for the Nets.
We were if we were to get Cam Johnson, we'd have to spend $30 million, right? Mm-hmm. And then he has only played in about 48% of his career games. Not even 50% of your games played, and we're going to pay you $30 million. All of our cap space.
It's like paying Zion Williamson $200 million to play 4 games a year.
I understand fans being like, Cam Johnson would be cool. He can shoot. He's developing well. He had a good end of the season last season, and he used to play for Monty Williams. It makes sense. Sure, if you're paying him $15 million a year. You don't pay more than $15 million a year for less than 12 points per game in your career. He was putting it together. He was not worth the $30 million. You pay Cam Johnson $30 million to try and be relevant this year. It's the same thing that happened back in the past, and you're paying Cam Johnson $30 million or however much the contract would grow to. You're paying him that much money to, in 2-3 years, who knows what he would be. Right. What if he's another Josh Smith type player that kind of fizzles out? Great. Now we're paying somebody that's averaging 8 points per game now, right? Something like that. So that's why I'm happy with these trades. We get contract dumps basically from other teams. We take on those deals. We have them be good veteran voices in the locker room to teach our young guys, and we get rid of them at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And we could use Joe Harris in a trade at the deadline. Regardless, we're not going to re-sign him to that money. Mm-mm. And next year's class, although a lot of contract extensions have been and will be signed, it does free up money for the Cade Cunningham extension that is inevitably coming if Cade Cunningham has the season we're expecting.
Yeah. Cade Cunningham deserves a supermax. Just putting that out there. He's incredible. He's incredible. But Joe Harris, 32 years old, still like getting up there in age. But you get a guy who shoots 42% from the field. Yeah, he's hurt a lot, but when he's healthy, he is very solid. I loved the Joe Harris. I remember when I saw it, I was like, big contract, yeah, but can we get rid of it by the trade deadline? Yes. If he comes off the bench, shoots the lights out, that's a good trade deadline asset. Along with Monte Morris. Every time I think of Monte Morris, I think of that one Vine where the guy in the crowd in the NBA draft, when Mark Tatum was announcing his pick, they were like, with the 40-something pick, the Pelicans select Monte Morris. That's every time I think of Monte Morris and Edmund Sumner, I think of that Vine. But
I pulled an Edmund Sumner rookie autograph card from a hanger pack, which if you know cards, it is almost impossible to pull an autograph out of that. But nonetheless, continue.
Okay. Joe Harris for the Nets won a 3-point contest. Doesn't really matter. I don't really care about all-star festivity stuff, but he's a shooter. Even though he averages 10 points per game for his entire career, you still get a guy who shoots
He's a 41% three-point shooter.
He's a 42% three-point shooter, which the Pistons don't have.
Yeah, we needed three-point shooting, and the front office addressed it. They're like, hey, you know what? We couldn't make threes last year. Let's add Joe Harris to the mix with Bojan.
Yeah, and then you have a slasher like Monte Morris who averages the same amount of points.
And his assist numbers got they really improved last season. Him as a playmaker really improved last season.
For his entire career, his assist percentage, 1,000. He has 1,000+ assists, which is awesome. 61 blocks in his career, 742 defensive great plays. He's a .83 field goal percent shooter, .39% three-point shooter. Very solid. Two really great pickups.
He's just a solid all-around backup player.
He is a great backup player. Is he old? Yeah, he's going to be that veteran in the locker room, just like Joe Harris, just like Bogey. But you get a guy who's still pretty young in his 20s that can slash to the basket really well, putting up good numbers for the Wizards last year. I really like the signings, even though we're not like signing all these superstars, because Troy Weaver is not the type of guy to go out and sign all these players. That's Ed. Ed Stefanski is the type of guy to go sign out.
Yep.
Go sign your Charlie Villanuevas, your
Joe
Ben
Dumars.
Joe Dumars. You don't sign the best man available. You sign pieces that will help your team. You don't sign Kevin Durant because, he's the best player available. That's dumb. You sign guys that will help you for your future.
That'll fit the piece of the puzzle.
That will fit the pieces of the puzzle. A couple veteran guys like Joe Harris and Monte Morris. Solid free agency.
Now, to round out the off-season festivities, Summer League, a fun time in Las Vegas where all NBA fans and executives and coaches and players congregate into one little area, one little arena, the Thompson Mack Center, to play basketball. And this is some of the best basketball you will watch because it is NBA talent playing like college because they have everything to lose and they're trying to make a roster spot. It's great basketball, Summer League hoops. And the Pistons really showed out. 3-1 in Summer League. Marcus Sasser had a 40-point game against the Pacers.
I love him.
Jalen Duren was shooting three balls consistently and creating off of the dribble. Jalen Duren doing that, I would not have put that on my Pistons Summer League bingo card. And then also, Asar Thompson just absolutely impressing and dazzling for the Pistons.
Now, here's the thing. You're 3-1 in the Summer League. The only team that you lose to is what I thought was the best team in Summer League, the Houston Rockets. They lost on a 3-point buzzer beater to Jabari Smith.
You're not when Jabari Smith Jr. is playing the way he played against Detroit. I mean, you're not beating that.
No, Jabari Smith maybe a little overrated, but in Summer League,
I think he's becoming underrated.
Yeah,
I think he's becoming underrated.
Regular season, people thought he was a bust, but no, I thought he was a very solid wing. He's just underlooked because he's on the Rockets and because you had Alex. Was it Sengun? Is it Sengun or is
Alperen Sengun?
Sengun, whatever. Sengun and Green. You got those guys like being the names for the Rockets. You don't look at Jabari Smith. You don't really look at a lot of third overall picks. I mean, the last third overall pick I really looked at was Melo for not Carmelo, LaMelo Ball. I know it really makes me mad when people call LaMelo Ball Melo.
Well, you just called LaMelo Ball Melo.
My mind went to Carmelo Anthony, but I meant LaMelo Ball. That's my bad. It's not just Duren and Sasser who were solid in Summer League. And Duren. You got guys like coming off the bench like Xavier Simpson, my guy, Mr. Hookshot from the University of Michigan.
He got signed to a deal with the Crews.
He did. I'm very happy for him. Eugene Amorie, I don't know how you say it, but
Eugene Amarui.
He's
not with the team anymore.
He's not with the team anymore. However, solid, very solid for the last 20 games of the season. We got a lot of people that were injured last year.
Yeah, a lot of injuries.
I loved him. James Wiseman, who I did not expect to play in Summer League, balled out.
Yeah, he looked really good.
He looked awesome. He looked like he was back in Memphis. That was impressive to see. If he plays like that in Summer League, I will be happy to put him in my Sixth Man of the Year candidate. Maybe he's going to be the sixth man for the Pistons, not Sixth Man of the Year. Sixth Man of the Pistons might be James Wiseman if he plays the way he plays. That's all the names I got for.
I want to bring up Ivy because Ivy played in the Summer League too.
Ivy played in the Summer League. He didn't play a lot though.
He didn't play a lot. The first game he played was a little rough. Yeah. It was a little rough. It was kind of shaking off the rust. But the second game he came back, he played really well. I just think Jaden Ivey, James Wiseman, and Jalen Duren all playing together in the Summer League, it's building a chemistry and a camaraderie that wouldn't be there if they didn't, and they were just getting their reps. James Wiseman, he shouldn't be in the Summer League. He shouldn't have played in the Summer League.
When he does play in the Summer League, he's great.
He looked good. Granted, he's going up against subpar talent compared to what he's going to be going up against in the real NBA, but he still looked good. He showed that promise. I'm not ready to give up on Wiseman yet. Let's transition. I was going to ask you this, and then you brought up Wiseman, and I'm like, beautiful. That's a perfect segue.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, I was going to get into this Pistons bench, because you got Bagley, you got Wiseman.
Oh, God. Don't bring up Marvin Bagley.
Bagley and Wiseman. Do you think Wiseman has a future on this team? Again, we traded Sadiq Bey in second-round picks for James Wiseman.
Wiseman will develop really nice with this Monty Williams offense, but I think it's time to give up on the Marvin Bagley. He got hurt last year, which hurt him a lot. His contract, $15 million a year. I liked it at the time because that Bagley and Cade connection was
at the end of that season.
At the end of the year,
with those red jerseys. Those red jerseys. Oh yeah,
that was
peak Pistons hoops.
I think because of the Cade Cunningham injury, it kind of slowed down Bagley a little bit. I'd say first half of the year when when Cunningham isn't hurt and he's healthy, give him a chance. That connection was awesome. But if he underperforms, either get rid of him, buy him out. It's not that big of a contract to buy out, but I think it's time to get rid of Bagley.
Bagley and Killian Hayes deal at the deadline, perhaps?
Yes, I will be so happy with that. But Wiseman has a future. He put up solid numbers for the Pistons when he came to the Pistons last year from the Warriors, and Steve Kerr didn't give him a lot of time, to be fair, because Steve Kerr really wants to rely on his stars like Draymond, Clay, and Curry, and now and Poole. Obviously, he's not on the Warriors anymore, but he wanted to give the focus on those guys because that's how you win in this league with those players, and he never really gave the chances to players like James Wiseman and not Toscano Anderson played for the Lakers, but Wiseman never really got a shot on the Lakers, and he's getting this shot with the Pistons. That's going to help him a ton. Yeah. If he plays well, I don't want him to be in trade talks because he'll be that solid six-man off the bench. That's what I think about Wiseman, but Bagley needs to go. But if that connection works with Cade Cunningham, keep him for a little bit. But if not, then I think it's time to get rid of him.
I think Marvin Bagley is a good player. I really don't think he's a bad player.
Any NBA player is good. They work this hard to get to the league.
I think the injuries are really hurting him and are really affecting him and not only the fans, but the front office and the players' just overall view of him. Nobody really looks at Marvin Bagley as the second overall pick over Luka Doncic and Trae Young. Mm-hmm. Was that a mistake by the Kings? Yes. Yeah. But Marvin Bagley isn't a bad player. You can't judge a player off where they were drafted. They can't control where they were drafted.
A top 3 alley-oop I think I've seen was Marvin Bagley his rookie year when Fox threw it up.
Yeah,
he caught it from behind and then turned around and threw it down. That was insane. But after that, he had a slow decline.
So now we're heading into training camp, and training camp next week is media day. On Monday is Detroit Pistons media day. It's everybody's media day in the NBA. A fun time, you get your pictures, your videos, your content, your fun questions. Yeah. The players get to talk a little bit on how they've been, what they've been doing. Media day is always fun. And then training camp right around the corner after that. Season starts Monday, which is just so happy to think about and feel that Pistons basketball is back on Monday. But going into training camp, your pre-training camp expectations, predictions almost, who do you think is going to be a breakout type player for the Pistons? And breakout, I mean like really bursting onto the scene, maybe 16 to 20 points per game, a player that you wouldn't expect to put up those type of numbers.
Well, obviously, I'd say Cade Cunningham, but he's going to be that guy he's not going to get a lot of playing time coming back from injury. He's looked good. He looked good with Team USA.
I think Cade's going to get.
He's going to get a decent amount of minutes, but
maybe in preseason he'll be limited a lot. But yeah, I don't think once the regular season comes around, need Cade.
I meant that for preseason. I didn't mean that for regular season. He'll get a lot of minutes, but preseason they're going to rest him up for regular season. But one player I do want to look at is Wiseman and Thompson. I feel like will be those two guys. Wiseman's going to get a lot of playing time in preseason. Henceforth, he's going to show off his jumper. He had a really good jumper in high school and at Memphis, and a little bit of before the injury. He's going to show off that his really good post defense, and that's what he's really good at. He's so lengthy that he can score.
He's 7 foot. Yeah.
He's 7 foot, but he doesn't look like he's 7 foot. He's a unicorn. I had him in 2K21 in my team, and he was
that
gorgeous.
Card is good.
That 98 Galaxy Opal, was amazing. But besides the point, he's so lengthy that people that are shorter than him, he's going to go off on them. Even though post-injury, he's still a very solid player. In preseason, he's going to be like Christian Wood, a player that you overlook, but in preseason, he's going to score 20 for you every single game. Same with Thompson. He's had that time to work with Monty and over the offseason to work on that jumper. I feel like he's going to start the last 2 games against the Thunder in preseason. He's going to show off that jumper, that three-pointer. Still be that solid defender. Still be that solid 3-and-D player. No, he's not really a 3-and-D player, but show off that really good defense. He's an all-around good defender. Be a good slasher, and I have really good hope for Asor Thompson this offseason. We just got to see what he does with real talent. He plays the Thunder twice, which was my dark horse, with Giddey, Shea, Williams, Dort, Chet. We just got to see how he does against a team like that.
I have 2 as well. One is like that 16 to 20 points per game score. Mm-hmm. But one is also, he's not going to get that high, but I think he's really going to jump off the stat sheet and maybe even earn a roster spot. So the first player I'm going with is Jaden Ivey.
Yeah.
I think he's going to bounce up to 19, 20 points per game just based off solely the fact that he's not the playmaker anymore. And he can solely focus on creating his own offense off Cade's feed, getting those open shots off Cade double teams, getting those easy opportunities to create space and work and do what he likes to do, which is be athletic, sneaky, crafty with the ball. I think he's going to jump up to 19 or 20 points per game, and he's going to be like a really surprise player. People, okay, this is the Jaden Ivey that we remember from Purdue. Like last year, a lot of people slept on Jaden Ivey. I think a lot of people, look at Jaden Ivey and they're like, okay, Jaden Ivey, he had an okay season, 16 points per game, a little inefficient. The shooting numbers weren't necessarily there for Ivey, but I think those improved this year just based off the at least as of right now, he's not going to have that playmaking burden on his shoulders. And even then, when God forbid, Cade Cunningham gets hurt. Monte Morris can come in and plug and play and play make.
Yes.
And Jaden Ivey still won't have to deal with that. So I think Ivey's got a big year, but also a sleeper player from, I'd say, the bottom of the roster, Jared Rhoden. I really like what I saw out of him in the summer league and last year when he has playing time.
Forgot about Rhoden.
Jared Rhoden is one of those players where it's like, okay, you give him the opportunity and the tools to grow. A coach, Monty, he could be something that's like, I'm not saying he's going to be starting or he's going to be like a 6, 7, 8 guy, but I think like a solid 10 piece on a roster. I think he could be that. He could be a solid 8, 9, 10, 11 points per game type player. It is a really serviceable. You need a bucket. You need somebody to come in. If somebody's hurt, if somebody can't play, you get Jared Rhoden on the court. You're not worried. You're not like, oh no, Jared Rhoden's on the court. We might not win this game. You're like, oh, Jared Rhoden, okay, we're fine with that. He can make a bucket. He doesn't make mistakes. Jared Rhoden, one of those players for me. Now that we talked about our predictions almost for these players, Pistons opening night is October 25th against the reigning Eastern Conference champion Miami Heat. In Miami, of course, Damian Lillard, not a Miami Heatle. No. He is a Buck. And who knows what will happen with the Drew Holiday sweepstakes. Miami's interested in Drew Holiday. Miami's willing to get rid of Tyler Hero. Who knows who we're going to see. But it's going to be a big night. Everybody's going to be looking at Miami like, okay, can they repeat their success with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo? They lost Max Strus. Kyle Lowry is still in uniform. Will Tyler Hero be there? Will he not be there? That's a big game, and if the Pistons can steal it on the road, that says something about this team, doesn't it?
Yes. Heat are not a regular season team, and that was proved in the past few years, making it that far as like a very low seed. Jimmy Butler doesn't really turn it on until like the last few weeks of the season, and that's what I feel like he's not really going to try against the Pistons. It's going to be those role players. You got that Tyler Heroes, those Duncan Robinsons, the Bams, all of those guys. It's going to be a dogfight, but the Heat, I feel like, will win that game, but it's going to be close. Monty Williams is going to be out there to play. I'm going to be very impressed with this Pistons team in the first game of the year. Jimmy Butler, not going to try it all. He's going to maybe score 15 and then just, he's not going to give up, but,
I just want to see the Pistons compete and it be a competitive game, a close game. I don't want the first game of the season to be a blowout because the Heat are just so much better than us. I think the Heat are very beatable, especially after losing Max Strus, and especially with all this tension, we didn't get Damian Lillard. Are they going to get Drew Holiday? Are they going to keep Tyler Hero? Who knows? It's all up in the air over in Miami.
Don't they still have Cody Martin?
Yes, they do.
Well, there you go. They got that next guy up, Cody Martin, who blew up in the playoffs.
Caleb Martin. They're twins.
Yeah,
Cody and Caleb, they're twins. It was Caleb Martin that is on the Heat. Cody Martin is on the Hornets.
Yeah, Caleb Martin, he's going to be that next guy to step up when Strus is gone. He's probably going to start next year. I forgot about Martin.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Cody Martin, he's going to be someone that the Pistons have to deal with, but we'll probably put maybe Stewart on him. I could see Thompson on Cody Martin, depending on where they put Ivy. They could put Ivy on Jimmy Butler. They could put Thompson on Jimmy Butler. It's endless. They have a lot of players that you need to stop, though. Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Caleb Martin, all those players, very fine players. I think the Pistons keep it close, but the home opener, we're going.
We are going.
Home opener
against the Bulls.
Against the Bulls. It's 3 games into the season, which not the best, but
who do they play the second game?
The Hornets. It's a second end of a back-to-back too.
Oh no.
We start the season Wednesday the 25th on the road against the Heat, and then Friday the 27th on the road against the Hornets, and then Saturday the 28th at home against the Chicago Bulls. It'll be the second time in 3 years that the Pistons play the Bulls on opening night at LCA. So the Bulls are a frequent flyer when the Pistons come, and it'll be a quick homestand too. They're only home for that one game, then they're on the road for a couple more games. So schedule makers, not that nice to the Pistons. But one last thing before we go off the air here. What are your expectations? I want two. I want 2 expectations from you for this season.
Improve. Just improvement will make me happy. We won what, 17 games last year?
17
games. Monty Williams is now the man on the saddle. He is going to make this team better. I have hope for this Pistons team. If we win 35 games, we've been talking about this all semester, but if the Pistons win 35 games, that's a win. Play in, win. If we do good in that stupid in-season tournament, I don't like it. That's a win for me. I don't care. If we improve, if we beat the good teams, and if we just keep it close, or if we beat the bad teams, we keep it close with the good teams, and we win a solid 35, 38 games, I'm happy. Play-in would make me ecstatic. I will be so happy. 2, just practice on shooting the 3-ball. You got Boyan doesn't really like being the main 3-point shooter. You got guys like Monte. You got guys who can develop well like Asor Thompson, Marcus Sasser. Cade Cunningham's back. He was a solid 3-point shooter. Jaden Ivey, who's going to get less, he's going to have a lesser role this year, which is better for him, and he can shoot that 3-ball very well without being under stress. This team's going to be a better shooting team, I just think. Those are my 2 improvements.
So, listen,
or my 2
I have been a Pistons fan for a while. Ever since, 2010, 2011, when I went to my first Pistons game at the Palace of Auburn Hills. I missed the Palace. The Palace is a beautiful room.
Why did they get rid of it?
Because they wanted to move downtown, and it was cheaper to lease out LCA than have all that land. That's a different topic for a different day, though. Mm-hmm. I have watched every single Pistons game in full for the past 6 seasons, every single one of them. I have also watched every single game last season 4 times. All 17 wins and all 65 losses.
We went on 19-game losing streak?
Oh, yeah, we did.
We won 19 out of our last 20. That was disappointing.
I am a Detroit Pistons connoisseur, if you will. I know this team. I've watched this team. What I want to see is kind of like what you said, 35 wins. I think anything above 35 wins, that's good. Good job. You guys did your job.
Even 30 wins, I'll be happy.
Yeah, 30 wins too. Anything under if you're still getting 20 to 29 wins, that's where you start to look at, okay, what's the problem? What's the problem with this team? Do we need another superstar player? Do we need more bench depth? What do we need? I think 35 is the magic number. You get to 35, just like what you said. You get to 35, that's beautiful. I want a watchable product. That's my second thing, a watchable product. Last year was painful. I brought up that I watched so many games last year because it was painful. I want a watchable product. I want people to be able to look through their guide and find Bally Sports Detroit and be like, you know what? That's a Pistons game. I'll watch it. Like when the Red Wings were subpar, people are like, oh, I'll still throw on the Red Wings. They're the Red Wings, right? The Pistons have just been unwatchably bad. Whether it was unlucky injuries or the wrong rotations from Dwayne Casey. I've been looking for that word rotations for the past 3 days, and I finally found it in my brain. I'm very happy about that. Anyways, you want 35 wins. Like I said, you want a watchable team, and you want people to be able to look at this team and be like, okay, I could watch this. This is entertainment. You want people to be able to go through League Pass and be like, oh, the Pistons are playing the Lakers? That should be fun. Not, oh, the Pistons are going to play the Lakers? That's a 30-point blowout. All right, so those are my 2 expectations for this year.
Okay, before we leave, I got one thing about the watchable thing. The Suns were garbage after the Amari Stoudemire, Steve Nash era. They were garbage.
They were consistently bad.
They were the unwatchable team.
Igor
Kokoskov, Corliss Williamson as one of the assistant coaches. I forgot about that. That just came in my mind.
Pistons legend.
But
Corliss
from
Williamson.
2012 till 2019, they were the most unwatchable team in sports. In sports.
The Sixers existed.
Oh.
The Sixers existed.
I keep forgetting about the Sixers because they've been really good for a while, but besides the point, the Suns were the most unwatchable team in the Western Conference. Let's say that.
There it is.
With Igor Kokoski, or whatever his name is. Kokoskov.
Terrible head coach. I'm sorry.
Terrible head coach. You bring in Monty Williams, they're watchable again.
Even though they started the bubble and they win every single game they play.
You start off very slow, but once the bubble hits, they're watchable again. Then you add guys like Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton. You add all these guys, you make them watchable. Monty Williams, I believe, will make this team watchable again. Like, if the Pistons play the best team in the league, like the Bucks, I think they're going to win the title this year because of Lillard. I think that's the Pistons-Bucks series, the 4 games that they play. Those are going to be watchable games. The Monty Williams will single-handedly turn this team around and will make the Pistons watchable again. That's all I have.
Well, Monty Williams, I mean, one of the biggest pickups in all of the NBA is taking that type of coach and making him your franchise head coach. We will be back with you next Friday for Count That Baby in a Foul. Same time, same place. For my buddy Ryan Donnelly, I'm Anthony Schulte. So long, everybody.